Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm sharing with you all of the witchcraft books that I purchased on my most recent trip to Glastonbury and Cornwall. Today's video is probably going to be a long one, so I would recommend a beverage of your choice, possibly a snack, probably a notebook, and let's go through all of the books that I purchased. I found a lot of secondhand books that I wouldn't be able to get hold of otherwise, so I ended up getting them while I was there, so this list is probably a lot longer than it would normally have been. It's important for me to note here that you do not need a large library to be a successful magical practitioner. There are many people who don't use books at all, others who have just a few of their favourites. Some people will have massive collections. For me, I have a large physical collection because I share information with you online, I post on social media, and I teach witchcraft. And because of that, I like having physical books that I can show people, that I can recommend to people. Not everyone needs that. For some people, just a few books is enough, maybe none. Sometimes they're audiobooks, perhaps they're digital. Everyone is going to be entirely unique. The successfulness of your practice is not based on the volume of your magical library. So just bear that in mind before we go forwards. To start with, I'm going to touch on the books that I got from the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. And I got 2 books while I was in there. These are the 2. I have gone fully into them in that video, so I will leave it linked down in the description box. But the first book I got was called A Sea Witch's Companion, Practical Magic of Moon and Tides by Levannah Morgan. And this looked super interesting, so I'm really happy I picked this up. The other is this one, which is Village Witch, Life as a Village Wise Woman in the Wilds of West Cornwall by Cassandra Latham-Jones. Both of these looked super interesting. I really enjoyed getting things from the museum because I enjoy supporting them, so I was super happy and I will hopefully be reading these soon to let you know my thoughts on them. I then made my way to Port Isaac in Cornwall, which is most famous for being the setting of the TV show Doc Martin. It's actually a small fishing village, and when I went into one of the sweet shops, I saw a book I wasn't expecting called Tales of Cornish Witchcraft by Robert Hunt. It was really small, it was only £3, and I thought, why not give it a go? Cornwall has such a deep, rich history of witchcraft, and so I figured it was worth a try. The information on this also intrigued me. It says, these stories were collected by the scientist, poet, and pioneer photographer Robert Hunt, 1807 to 1887, and tell something of the old superstitions which were apparently quite common in the early Victorian period. At that time, Cornish witches, also called charmers or pellers, could be male or female and either malign or more often well-meaning. Some made a good living by selling their knowledge to the unwary. And I thought this just sounded really cool because we have a lot of witchcraft books for modern magical practitioners, perhaps modern practitioners about older stories, but to have a book written by someone who was directly talking to people and learning about these legends at the time sounds really interesting to me. So it's really small. I'm going to give it a read. Not sure the kind of outlook that the author is coming from. Were they someone who was interested and believing? Perhaps not. Are they more likely to have been opposed? Maybe. So I'm going to give it a go. But if you are in Port Isaac, you might find a few of these because there are a few different options. We then moved from Cornwall into Somerset and made our way into Glastonbury. Glastonbury is one of the homes of witchcraft in the UK. The entire high street is full of magical shops. People have pilgrimages there. You can walk up the Tor. You have the White Spring and the Chalice Well Gardens. And you have 3 amazing witchcraft bookshops. Labyrinth Books, The Speaking Tree, and Courtyard Books. And I, of course, went into all 3 of them because who would I be if I didn't? So I started in Labyrinth Books. This is at the top of the high street. It's the highest bookshop that you can get to, and it usually has a lot of new books. But this time it had quite a few old secondhand books, and they are by far my favourites, so I did end up picking up quite a few. So the first book that I picked up is this one. This is Witchcraft and Secret Societies in Rural England, The Magic of Toadmen, Plough Witches, Mummers and Bonesmen by Nigel Pennick. Now, I really enjoy Nigel Pennick's work, so when I saw this, I knew I had to get it. I have seen it come up quite a few times online, and I was really interested in it, so I figured it was about time. This one reads as follows. Centuries ago, the remote marshy plains of eastern England, the fens, were drained to create agricultural land. The Fens remained isolated up until the 19th century, and it was this very isolation that helped preserve the ancient traditions of this area, traditions ruthlessly eradicated elsewhere in the British Isles. These magical folk traditions also owe their survival to secret rural societies, from craft guilds and trade unions to Morris dancers and village bands. Exploring the folk customs and magical traditions of guilds and rural fraternities such as the shoemakers and horsemen, and the secrets guarded by the free gardeners, bonesmen, witches and toadmen, Nigel Pennick shows how the common working people of the Fens belonged to secret societies based on their specific trade. He details the hidden aspects of rural life that most historians ignore, the magical current that flowed through the lives of working people, and describes the secret societies, ceremonies, oaths, and initiatory rituals of the guilds and fraternities to which these folk belonged. So this looked super interesting to me, very excited to give it a read. I'm not sure how practically useful it will be, but it's going to be really interesting to learn about some history. The next book that I got is also another new one. This is The Witch's Survival Guide by Jhenah Lyne. Now this one was really fascinating to me. It is spells for healing from stress and burnout. It's what appears to be a rather modern magic book, but it could be incredibly useful to so many people, myself included, who do struggle from burnout and stress. So this says, "The modern world has pushed many of us to breaking point. Our bodies and minds are burnt out, and we can feel anxious, inadequate, and lonely. In The Witch's Survival Guide, Jhenah Lyne shows you how to take back control of your life and tap into the deep magic that resides in the plants, trees, and ancient places of this world. Among the many spells and rituals, you will learn to make an energy protection spell with a simple apple, use candle magic to draw self-love into your life, soothe anxiety and create balance with the powers of water, and let it all go under the full moon. Through guided spell work, Jhenah shows us how to harness the natural forces of the four elements so we can learn to finally restore and enrich our souls." Now this is one that you wouldn't think that I would be drawn to, because traditionally I don't like spell books. I find them completely unnecessary most of the time, but this one feels deeper to me than that. It doesn't feel like just another spell book. It feels like it's got real significance behind it. And so I decided to give it a go. Why not give spellbooks a go again? So that's what I'm going to try, and we'll see how I feel about it. I do struggle with burnout, I do struggle with stress, so let's give it a go. What's the worst that can happen is that I don't like it. The best that can happen is I absolutely love it and I recommend it to you, so we'll see. The next book that I've got is actually an older book, and it is Colour Magic: Unleash Your Inner Powers by Raymond Buckland. Now, many of you will have heard of Raymond Buckland, the author of The Big Blue Book, and I've never read anything else by him. So I saw this, was very interested. I wanted to see how it would take Colour Magic to a new level, because this is quite a thick book, and it seems like it does, honestly. We have lots of Khmers inside, very interesting topic in themselves. You have a few spells, you have colours in divination. It looks really interesting. The information on this goes as follows. Imbue your magic and spell work with an array of colours and energetic correspondences, from vibrant red to tranquil blue to powerful violet and all the colours in between. This book covers the full spectrum of colour use in magic and healing, and provides instructions for a variety of simple yet effective techniques. You'll learn how to explore the effects of colour in placket magic and poppets, talismans, sigils, and magic squares, use colour to enhance crystal gazing, numerology, tarot, and other divination practices, awaken psychic abilities with chakra and colour meditations, draw temperature maps to tap into universal abundance, perform colour healings, and balance your aura. Empower your magical practices and your everyday life with the potent energy of colour magic. It sounds interesting, does it not? At least it does to me, so I'm going to give it a read and give it a go, because the only book by Raymond Buckland I have ever read is Raymond Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft, and I point that way because it's sitting on that bookshelf, because that book is so big I cannot actually stand it upright on a shelf. It has to lie flat because it's just massive. So this is going to be an interesting read. At least I think it will be. The next book was actually a gift. I was not expecting it at all. I'd seen the book, fallen in love with it, decided not to get it. So when it was given to me as a gift, I was so shocked. So thank you so much to those who got this for me. You know who you are. I'm not going to name you, don't worry. But this is Gerald Gardner and the Cauldron of Inspiration by Philip Hestleton. And this has probably gone on to be my favourite book in the collection. The back reads as follows. From the author of the highly acclaimed Wiccan Roots, this book tells the story of how retired civil servant Gerald Gardner discovered a witch coven in the New Forest in the late 1930s. It contains genuinely new material, telling of newly discovered members of the coven who practiced herbal magic, including the author of girls' school stories crammed full of pagan imagery and the true matriarch of the coven. The crucial and intimate role played by Gardner's first high priestess, Edith Woodford Grimes, is revealed. The tale is unearthed of how Gardner's enthusiasm for naturism brought him into contact with such influential figures in the occult world as Harry Bingham, Ross Nichols, Cotty Burland, and Dion Fortune. For the first time, the true story is revealed of Gardner's friendship with one of the most controversial magical figures of the last century, Aleister Crowley. The sources from which the Secret Book of Shadows was compiled are identified, including an older core of material. The author's frank conclusion suggests how the original coven in the New Forest may actually have started less than 80 years ago. A major step forward in chronicling the history of modern witchcraft, this book provides a fascinating insight for all who would like to learn more about the origins of what Professor Ronald Hutton has described, the only religion that England has ever given the world. And so I'm fascinated by this. I'm so excited. So excited to read this. So this might be one of the first I get to because this is amazing. I cannot wait to dive into it. And I've really enjoyed Philip Hestleton's other work as well. Wow, I didn't see this. I just found this inside this book. This says, a Stoic Conference and Occult Book Fair, Saturday the 30th of May 2009, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m, the Assembly Rooms, Ludlow, Shropshire. If anyone attended this show, let me know, because you may well have purchased this book which ended up in my hands. That's really cool. I love finding things like this in old books. I say old books, it only came from 2009, but like, that's cool to find. We're then moving down the high street into the Speaking Tree, my second favourite witchcraft bookshop after Courtyard Books, which is coming up next. And I ended up getting 3 books while I was in there, just 3. I really reined it in this time, at least in this bookshop anyway. The first book that I got is called Dark Moon Magic by Cerridwen Greenleaf, and this is one I've already started reading, so hold on for my book review in another video. This one reads as follows. In this utterly unique grimoire, best-selling author Cerridwen Greenleaf gathers celestial lore, history, and mythology, drawing from the Dark Ages, mystical practices of the original Gothic tribes, Scandinavian shamans, and other medieval sources. The spells in this book infuse the magic of the ancients, allowing modern readers to tap into that pure power. Here you'll learn how to call upon the fairy world and little-known gods and goddesses to empower your magic, as well as ways to consecrate and wield magical tools, create a home and garden full of enchantment and rituals to enhance every aspect of your life. With Dark Moon Magic, Cerridwen Greenleaf has crafted nothing less than a mystical Western school in book form. Magicians, alchemists, witches, and wise women of ancient times knew how to harmonize their lives with the heavenly cycles. You too can use these pagan prescriptions for the 21st century. They are guaranteed to banish stress, ease tension, and add comfort, joy, and magic to your daily life. With life's increasing frantic pace, the search for serenity is now more important than ever. Herein may be found the keys to rising above the fray and embracing a life of abundance and joy. So this one looked interesting to me, but I'm going to give it a go because not that many books focus on dark moon magic. They mostly just focus on all the positive stuff, so we'll see. Next up, we have a book that's a little bit more paranormal in nature, right up my alley. It's not going to be for everyone. This is Stalking Shadows, The Most Chilling Experiences of a Paranormal Investigator by Debi Chestnut. I really love working with ghosts and spirits. I love communing with them. I also love ghost shows and paranormal investigation, so this was right up my street. This one definitely isn't going to be for everyone though. I know that a lot of people really don't like ghost hunting and those kind of things, so yeah, not going to be great for everyone, but this reads as follows. If the world of paranormal were a house, Stalking Shadows would be its wicked basement. And like a basement full of sinister energy, this collection of true stories is powerful enough to snuff out your flashlight, leaving you trembling in the darkness. Join psychic medium and paranormal investigator Debi Chestnut as she explores 12 terrifying true encounters with ghosts, dark beings, and negative entities. Discover an abandoned house of horrors that becomes more evil with every victim it claims. Follow a tortured spirit trapped in a forsaken mirror. Feel the savage pain of a distraught ghost that screams out in agony. Once you descend into the paranormal basement, you'll uncover the true lives of the dead in thrilling ways you never expected. I'm so excited about this. You often hear people always talk about positive sides of spirits, but there are negative spirits as well and negative spirit encounters, and so I really like having that dualistic approach. So learning personal accounts of people who've also had experiences with negative spirits, as I have, is really great information for me, and it's just a really fun read. The last book is actually a really new release apparently, and it's called The Ninefold Way of Avalon, and this looked so interesting to me. It is by, I'm going to butcher this name so bad, Jhenah, Telyndru. I'm going to put it here so that you can see it. I'm not sure how to pronounce it properly, but that is their name. And this looked really interesting to me. It's a massive one, by the way. This is a doozy of a book. This is going to take me like a year to read. It says, follow the mystic map into modern practice. The path of the Avalonian priestesses is as unique as those who walk it, and now you can learn how to apply the 9 energies of this path in service to the goddess, the community, and the self. Priestess Jhenah Priestess Jhenah Telyndru first delves into the rich historical and cultural information that forms the Avalonian stream of tradition, especially the ninefold sisterhoods found in the Celtic lands and beyond. She then introduces you to the 9 modern priestess ways, inspired by ancient customs: lawkeeper, law speaker, emissary, artisan, hearth tender, guardian, seer, healer, and ritualist. You'll use specialized workings to connect with Avalon's energetic currents, reclaim your sovereignty, serve as a bridge between the worlds, and find your way home to Avalon within. I will be honest, gut feeling is I'm not sure about this one, based off just my own gut instincts, but I think it's worth being open-minded. I'm going to give it a go and see what I think about it. So yeah, this is one that I mostly got out of curiosity, and we will just have to see how I feel later. We then move on to my favourite bookshop of all time, and that is Courtyard Books. I adore Courtyard Books. They specialise in more unusual occult books. Oftentimes they're secondhand, sometimes, in the case of things like this, they are very special hardback editions, so I really enjoy getting books from them. I enjoy supporting them because they are just so knowledgeable in their subject. However, I went in thinking I was only going to get a few books. I came out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I came out with 8 books. But some of them I have not been able to find in a really long time, so I apologise if some of these are not ones that you can readily find, but if you are interested in them, I will try to share information as I can that I have learned and added into my own practice, but if you can, maybe set some alerts for if any come available, if they are things that you really think would be useful to your practice. So the first books that I got had actually been on my wish list for a really long time, and I couldn't find them anywhere. All of them are related to the clan of Tubelo, which is deeply associated with Robert Coltrane, who is known as being the father of traditional witchcraft. Now, all 3 of these are hardback, and they are by the same author, Shani Oates, and I was shocked to be able to find them all. Apparently, they'd all come in from the same place, so I guess someone else had the collection just like I was after. So up first is Tubelo's Green Fire, Mythos, Ethos, Female, Male, and Priestly Mysteries of the Clan of Tubelo by Shani Oates. Now, there's not a lot of information written about this book, but the information that there is goes as follows. This book explores historical and contemporary ideas of witchcraft through the perspective of the clan of Tubelo, a closed initiatory group aligned with the shadow mysteries within the Luciferian stream. As students of art, we mediate the ancestral stream, teaching through practice with the sacred tenets of truth, love, and beauty. The word is thus manifest in deed and vision, and then it's followed by a quote from Robert Coltrane, which says, quote, "A driving thirst for knowledge is the forerunner of wisdom. Knowledge is a state that all organic life possesses. Wisdom is the reward of the spirit, gained in the search for knowledge. Truth is variable. What is true now will not be true tomorrow, since the temporal truths are dependent upon ethics and social mores. Therefore, wisdom is possibly eternal truth, untouched by man's condition. So we must come to the heart of the people, a belief that is based upon eternity and not upon social needs or pressures. The which belief, then, is concerned with wisdom. Our true name, then, is the wise people, and wisdom is the aim. So I'm going to have to give this a go. I am not entirely sure what I'm getting into here, but I've been fascinated by this subject for a long time, and I figured it was about time I gave it a go. Next up, we have The Star-Crossed Serpent by Shani, Oates and Latham-Jones. And this is another of the ones that has fascinated me. It's on a similar vein, so it goes as follows. Dual authorship of the clan of Tubelcain's legacy defining 50 years of its organic evolution, originating from within an unpublished work by Evan John Jones, the former magister of the clan since Robert Cotrain's death in 1966. It serves testament to the will of fate and tenacity of spirit here expressed, from its inception under Robert Cotrain, through Evan John Jones's own record of the clan's beliefs and practices to those of the current bearers of this mantle, depicting the interweaving of weird in the vital process of its existence and continuity in troth to its tutelary spirit, the star-crossed spirit. So this one is interesting. This is probably the one I'm most excited about, honestly. This is the one I wanted the most. So the fact that I got all three that I could find was great. I'm not sure if I've got all three, because this book is in 3 parts. I'm not sure if I have all 3 of the parts. If I'm going to have to keep my eye out, I will have to do more research, but these are just the 3 that I could get. And then the last one in this set is The Arcane Veil by Shani Oates. And this one is 10 discourses on the craft and the history of magic. And this one reads as follows. A discursive investigation of magical beliefs and practices in England since 600 CE to the postmodern fallout of the 21st century, analysing in particular its influences and survival strategies. Emphasis is placed on Christian, heathen and hermetic praxis, with provocative and crucial study of the concepts of Lucifer, witch-blood, sin-eating and their influences on modern traditional craft praxis. And then there is that same quote from the first book from Robert Cotrain. So yeah, I'm really excited about these. Have no idea how good they're actually going to be. Everyone that I've spoken to has said that they're really good, so I'm going to give them a go. I'm going to try and fly through these really quick now. So next up we have The Witch's Heart by Eileen Smith. Now, my company is actually called The Witch's Heart, just spelt differently, so I felt like that was kind of fate. But this one reads as follows. Nature isn't complicated, writes the author. It is simple and pure. She has written a book to match, written from the heart. The book not only gives rituals and meditations to communicate with the old ones, but also instructions on how to write your own chants, rituals, and other workings. The book is based on the ways of Earth God Wicca, which has traditional energies similar to Gardnerian, but it is more for the masses than for the priesthood. Its teachings are more Earth combination moon-oriented. The focus is on working with nature, its cycles and energies combined with your own. As you begin to tune into nature, you will find yourself tuning into yourself as well. Now, honestly, I mostly got this one because it is from Capelban, which is a publishing house that I do collect books from. But it also seemed really interesting. It is a form of Wicca that I have not researched before, and so I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about it. Next up, we have The Witch's Master Grimoire, an encyclopedia of charms, spells, formulas, and magical rites by Lady Sabrina, who is the High Priestess and founder of the Our Lady of Enchantment Seminary of Wicca. When I flicked through this, it had so many good spells in it. You have binding spells, you have protection spells, you have divinations, you have sections on glyphs, sections on working with the Fae, candle magic, crystal magic. You have animal magic, symbols, air magic. It looks really interesting. So the back reads as follows. What exactly is magic? According to Lady Sabrina, magic is the art of getting results. It is one of the best ways to get control and bring harmony back into your life. Magic unleashes your personal power and can provide you with the upper hand and an edge in most situations. One of the easiest, most popular, and convenient ways to begin magic is through the casting of a spell. Anyone can perform spells because they do not require any specific amount of space, elaborate equipment, or special training. Questionable. All you need to make a spell work is an open mind and the desire and curiosity to experiment. The Witch's Master Grimoire contains numerous simple and effective spells and magical rites organized in an easy-to-follow A to Z format. Many of them make use of the power of fire through the flame of a candle, others rely on the subtle vibrations of herbs, plants, and minerals. This book also includes recipes for spells that require special oils and incense. Lady Sabrina also gives tips on the best and most productive times to cast spells. She recommends working with the phases of the moon, which can be found in an old farmer's almanac, or any good astrological calendar. The new moon should be used to begin projects, attract money, regenerate friendships or health. During the full moon, you should work on personal success, career, love, or marriage. Lastly, the waning moon is the perfect time to get rid of built-up negative energies. The most important thing to remember is to not be disillusioned if your magic does not work immediately. Some spells will take longer to work than others, but if you follow this helpful and informative guide and have faith in your work, your wishes will come true. Now, although I don't consider everything written in that to be accurate entirely, I do think that it's useful to have a good foundation of knowledge going into it. A lot of it sounds really good, and a lot of the spells seem really good, so I'm going to give this a go, see what I can get out of it, and see if it's something that I could recommend for any of you who are interested in a similar book. Next up, we have Crystal Balls and Crystal Bowls, Tools for Ancient Scrying and Modern Seership by Ted Andrews. Now, scrying is a topic I've become really interested in, and while I have my own personal techniques, I wanted to learn more about it, so when I saw this book at, how much was this? £6, I had to get it. So the back reads as follows. Crystal balls and crystal bowls are two of the most potent avenues for higher states of consciousness. Their use in healing, activating creativity, foretelling the future, and balancing the human energy system are timeless. Through the crystal ball and the crystal bowl, you can access your creative essence, explore the mysteries of the universe, and project personal energy. Now, in the only modern, complete, and definitive book on crystal ball gazing, you can form the ancient practices of scrying and ritual healing on your own. Crystal Balls and Crystal Bowls divulges the secrets of these enchanting instruments in accessible, practical language that you can use immediately. It includes step-by-step guidelines for developing clairvoyance with the crystal ball, a variety of methods for crystal gazing, divining with water, guidelines for enhancing crystal gazing with candles, fragrances, and flower and gem elixirs, uses and effects of different types of crystal balls, methods of healing with crystal balls, attuning with spirit guides, angels, and divas, sacred sounds, altered states of consciousness, astral projection, and explorations of time, past, present, and future, as well as Kabbalistic scrying rituals. So this looks great. Very excited to give this a read because I'm hoping I will find new techniques to try, and maybe they might work better than the techniques I'm already using. The last two books in this video are beautiful hardback editions of Troy Books books. That's a lot of books. And the first is Wart Cunning by Nigel Pearson. I've had my eye on this book for so long, and it has a really interesting feature. So this is the first side of the book, and that is the second side of the book. Yes, there are two sides of this book. There are actually two books in one. So the information goes as follows. This useful pocket-sized book is presented as 2-in-1 in an intriguing double-fronted format. The first side, a folk medicine herbal, presents the medieval folk information and recipes as passed on to the author. He has complemented this material with the addition of the second reverse side of the book, a folk magic herbal, giving the traditional magical uses for the same plants presented in the first. And that to me is just such a cool way of doing it. I've never seen anyone do that before, so I'm very excited to read this one. And then lastly, we have this one. This is another beautiful hardback edition. This one is A Ring Around the Moon by Nigel Pearson. So it is the exact same author as this one, and I absolutely love their work. I think they're really well written, so I was really excited to get this one as well. This one is just a one-sided book. It is only this direction. It isn't quite as fancy as the other one, but it's set to be really interesting. So the information on this one goes as follows. An initiate of both traditional and modern witchcraft, the author gives here the actual rites and rituals of a working coven from an insider's point of view. These rites were developed by the coven themselves over a period of nearly a quarter of a century and give a fascinating insight into the actual workings of an initiate-only coven. As the coven itself has ceased practice and is no longer in existence, and a significant amount of time has elapsed, the secrecy surrounding these rites may now be lifted, and they are here offered as working examples which other covens may benefit from. As well as giving a brief historical overview of the origins of the coven and the parent group it derived from, which in itself is a fascinating read, the rites detailed cover devotional, magical, and festive rituals, rites for the greater and lesser sabbats, rites for the god and goddess, rites of passage, and workings for solitary practice. Wherever possible, background information is given, explaining the origins and inspirations for these rites and how and why they came to be written. In addition, there are 2 appendices, detailing more unusual rites practiced by the coven. In Appendix 1, the author gives a unique ritual developed from information received via trance and dream work that takes the practitioners on a mystical journey to the mystical land of Avalon, seeking knowledge of the return of the old ways and what they may do to aid this return. Appendix 2 gives details on magical rites practiced by an inner group of the coven, working with ceremonial magic techniques with the Egyptian deities Isis and Ra. There are many books around these days, dealing with the rites of modern witchcraft, but very few are written from an initiated, insider's point of view. The author has 40 years of practical experience in working the craft, and for many of those years was a priest of the coven whose rites are discussed here. He helped to craft and write a great many of them, and was instrumental in formulating others with the rest of the coven. This is a highly unusual and individual book, giving, as it does, a glimpse into the inner life of a single coven over a period of nearly 25 years, its working practices and magical ethos. That is bananas to me. So what usually happens is covens are oath-bound, so every member of the coven cannot tell anyone who is non-initiatory about the practices within it. That is void after a certain period of time after that coven has separated, and that is how books like this come into existence. And although I am not Wiccan anymore, I was, and so this is going to be a really interesting read for me. So those are all the books that I got from Glastonbury and Cornwall. I know it was an awful lot of books, but a lot of them were ones that I knew I would not be able to get hold of anywhere else, and some of them I would have gotten elsewhere anyway, so I figured I would rather support the small businesses and the occult bookshops when I visit them than I would companies that don't really care about witchcraft. I'd love to know what book you are most interested in from this list. If you would like to see videos on them, do let me know. And also, what's your current witchcraft read? I would love to know, even if it isn't witchcraft related, let me know what you are currently reading. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a like, it means a lot to me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or want to chit chat with the community, feel free to post a comment down in the comment section. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel, in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I try to post magical content every single week. And my vlog for the trip to Boscastle, as well as to Glastonbury, will be up, and I will post the links in the description box. So I hope you have a marvellous magical day. I hope you're all staying safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Oh my goodness, I don't think I have time to go through all of these. We'll see. I've been filming for 3.5 solid hours. That's a lot of books. And that's not even all of them. Huh, heavy. Okay, I have to go to a quiz now. I'm already late, so I'm gonna have to go. Bye!